We have a very bizarre story out of New York City that you're probably not going to see Fox News cover. You're not going to see CNN cover, MSNBC cover, at least not in the way that we're going to talk about it today. You're going to see them probably water it down, play it off as something that it wasn't. But this is very important to cover here. We're going to talk about this. This is from the Daily Mail. Wild riot breaks out in New York City synagogue over secret tunnel. A secret tunnel was constructed. Orthodox Jews are dragged away in cuffs after trying to block construction crew from filling in their illicit passageway. And as you can see from the video's thumbnail here, there were Jews that were crawling out of the sewers in New York City. They were crawling out of the sewers, attempting to evade police arrest, like something out of, I don't know what, Ninja Turtles or something, coming out of their sewer layer, their illicit, illegal sewer layer that they've constructed in attempts to evade police arrest here. So we're going to talk about this today. Now, there is something very important here because apparently the appeal was to link a ritual bath, or what's also known as a mikvah. Now, the reason why this is extremely important is because there's another article from 2013 from Vice News that I want to link this to. It's related, and I want to talk about this, and it's about one of the most holy mikvahs in Israel, in Jerusalem. So we're going to come back to that. I also want to talk about the Finders Group. So, we did a whole segment about the Finders Group up on a Rumble channel. Make sure to subscribe over there. Daily Veracity with Vincent James on Rumble. And this group was a satanic cult, basically. Now, the FBI actually dumped a bunch of documents, a bunch of information on their official Twitter account back in 2019, right after, coincidentally, the alleged suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. This document dump occurred on Twitter. And if you look into the documents that the FBI released about the Finders Group, it talks about how they were connected to the CIA. It talks about tunnels underground in Washington, D.C., and under preschools potentially in California and under New Jersey. And it was about this group that, when the police investigated, there were pictures of children. We have this old Washington Post article from 1987 archived here. Pictures of children performing satanic rituals themselves, naked children, child pornography, children involved in what they call bloodletting ceremonies of animals, and a picture of a child in chains. And so there's also this other video of FBI, the head of the FBI of Los Angeles, Ted Gunderson, who talks about these tunnels under McMartin Preschool. And so we're gonna get to this because the documents and information on tunnels, underground tunnels used for illicit activities, go back a long ways. And I think that this is related. This is relevant. We're going to talk about this today. I'm not saying that these tunnels in New York City were used for illicit activities, but it's related. We're going to touch on this. Let's get to the story here. This is from the dailymail.com. Wild scenes broke out on Monday at a synagogue in Brooklyn after construction workers arrived to fill in an illegally dug tunnel that was being used by young Orthodox Jewish men in an attempt to link the building to a nearby ritual bath or mikvah. Now, they basically try to play this off as it was the youths. It was the young people who dug this tunnel illegally. They were just, they were being rambunctious and they dug this tunnel. But when you look at the videos, these guys don't look that young. A lot of them don't look young at all, actually. And so this is sort of misleading. But this goes on. It says, in December, the rabbi discovered youths had dug tunnels beneath the buildings to access another property on the same street. It remains unclear why the young men are so attached to the property they were accessing illegally. The appeal of the ritual bath or mikvah is unclear. Again, very important. We're going to come back to this. When cement diggers and construction crews showed up last night to fill the tunnel, the young men protested, throwing themselves in the way to block their efforts. Now, this is something. I was actually on the Stu Peters show recently, and this is something that is interesting. I've never seen construction workers work so fast in a city like New York or Chicago or Los Angeles ever before. But they're working really quickly to fill in this tunnel that was dug with cement. It took the NYPD to forcibly remove them. Videos of the incident were later shared on social media. 12 people were arrested and remain in custody. They are yet to be identified. Now, you look at the pictures, there's a stained mattress that comes out of the tunnel. There are child car seats and high chairs that are coming out of the tunnel. It's very weird stuff. Now, the original post that went viral on Twitter, it got around 12 million views, has since been taken down. So the question is, was this account doxxed? Was this account threatened? What happened there? Why was the official tweet taken down? Or the original thread with these videos taken down? But you can see this here, this chaotic scene. You can see how it all started. They were ripping wood panels to prevent a cement truck from sealing off the recently discovered tunnels. There was a riot that broke out. And this video here is very interesting. This is a New York City cop, and I didn't know that men like this existed on the NYPD anymore. This is like your standard Italian New York City cop, and he says in this video, "We don't do this in America." I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play this clip for you guys. Here, take a look.
Do they know? No. Because there's a guy wanting to go out. They know. There was a guy wanting to go out. It says no. I want to clear the whole shoe. Whole shoe? Why? They want to fix this tonight. They need the shoe cleared. And to... Why? We need to expense something. Not like this. We don't do that in America. Do they know?
We don't do that in America. He says he wants to fill in the whole synagogue. They want to fix this tonight. Why are they working so fast to fix that? That's the you drive in New York City, I'm sure there's potholes. I mean, there's videos of, which have later been turned into memes, actually, because this whole thing happened. But there's videos of people, like, putting their feet on these cracks in sidewalks, and the whole, like, sidewalk caves in. And you can see, like, underneath, you can see, like, into the sewers. It doesn't seem like they're rushing to fix those problems as quick as they're trying to fill in this tunnel with cement. So that's a pretty interesting point there. But you can see pushing and shoving, and I guess there were some people that were attacking police officers, and there were 12 of these people were arrested, but they have yet to be identified. And this is the Chabad Lubavitch headquarters in Crown Heights. Now, we have some more on, how powerful this group actually is. And again, this original thread was taken down. But I want to show you another video clip here. It says here, arrests continue inside. I guess we don't need to show that video clip, but let me show you this video clip here. This is like, there are Jews coming out of the sewers in New York City. This is not really helping the anti-Semitic tropes or memes that are going around on, or have been going around for centuries, really. Take a look at this. Literally comes out of a sewer, bats the guy with the camera, slaps the guy with the camera, and then scurries away. I guess scurry is not the great choice. Maybe scurries, the whole rat. Maybe the scurry. Maybe that was a poor choice of words. Anyway, so you look at this here. There's some videos of these tunnels here coming out. We're gonna look at this here. But why was there a stained mattress and a baby chair in the secret Jewish sewer layer that was constructed here by the Chabad, under the Chabad Lubavitch global headquarters? Take a look at this video here of the tunnel. We have this clip here right now. And as you can see, I don't think there's any sound here, or maybe the sound cuts in a little bit late here, but going downstairs here. And I believe this is a body camera footage, or I'm not sure exactly where this footage comes from, but you see all these clothes and shoes and shoe boxes and baby chairs, high chair, all sorts of other boxes there, cinder blocks. It looks to be a gas can over there, this bag hanging here, and then this was the tunnel, or part of the tunnel that goes down and links to this ritual bath, this mikvah. Now, the question is what else is on this block? What else is on this street? Right? You see this stained mattress with this brown stain. Blood usually typically stains brown after a long period of time. You've got that child high chair there, or car seat, or whatever that is there. And then you have like a lot of conservatives, and I love Gavin, but a lot of conservatives that are connected to like the mainstream conservative sphere that are really trying to like water this down. I've seen the narrative that, these tunnels were built because of COVID, because they wouldn't allow them to practice the religion during COVID. But then you find out that actually these tunnels were dug 6 months ago. But you see takes like this all over Twitter. It was meant to expand their real estate, have a way to practice the religion if another pandemic happens. have a place to hide if shit really hits the fan. It's like, but okay, well, why not like practice your religion in the place, in the building that's specifically designed and specifically built to practice your religion above ground? Also, no, they weren't built for COVID because these were dug 6 months ago. I've seen that narrative on Twitter as well. This is a tweet here from Elijah Schaefer. Daily Mail calls into question the narrative that the tunnels were to expand the synagogue. The city cites no evidence. Crown Heights records that the tunnels were dug 6 months ago, revealing they weren't used for traveling during COVID-19. There's a legal dispute as to who actually owns the building. Does nobody own the building? And, you know, Chabad Lubavitch is a very powerful group. In fact, there's a tweet here. Let me pull this up. Let me see if I can find this tweet here. Chabad headquarters in Crown Heights with the tunnel looks like an old, smelly, rundown building, but don't let that fool you about their international influence. So let's play this video clip here just to let you know who Chabad Lubavitch actually is. Take a look at this now.
I used to say that Chabad was sending out more shluchim than McDonald's was opening new hamburger places. He's way beyond that now. I also, and here I have to be careful what I say, I once said that it seemed to me, as somebody involved in national security matters, that Chabad actually was developing a larger worldwide organization than the CIA. Tonight, we're honored to have with us the former director of the CIA, a dear friend of mine, Jim Woolsey.
So it's like, you know, you see these ex-presidents with Chabad leaders and stuff like this. And it's very similar to like a lot of the videos that you see out of AIPAC, or you see like Nancy Pelosi saying like her father was a Shabbos Goy and her husband is now a Shabbos Goy. And you see, you know, both Democrats and Republicans speaking at AIPAC, and you see employees of AIPAC, which is like the main, when people refer to the Israel lobby, this is what they normally refer to, AIPAC. Now, you also have WINEP. You also have a bunch of different organizations, a bunch of different groups, 75 separate organizations, I think, is the last tally of the total of the Israel lobby. But when you look at like ex-employees of AIPAC saying they could have the signatures of 70 senators on a cocktail napkin, and then you see stuff like this, you know, ex-CIA director, presidents, politicians going to speak in front of Chabad Lubavitch. Again, just like the tweet said, don't let that old, rundown, rusty building with tunnels underneath it fool you. This group has a lot of power. Now, there are some people that are referring to, and so we're going to go to the mikvah thing. We're going to talk about the mikvah connection here, and one of the most holy mikvahs in the city of Jerusalem in Israel. There's an article here from 2013 that I want to talk about from Vice News called the Child Rape Assembly Line. And we're going to talk about this here in a moment. But first, I want to thank another sponsor of the show, and that is Purge Suddenly. That is purgestore.com. And if you haven't done a parasite cleanse, I highly recommend it. I try to do a parasite cleanse at least once or twice a year. These are all natural ingredients, non-GMO ingredients. We're talking about things like black walnut, wormwood, totally natural ingredients. And I'm going to borrow some words here from Dr. Lee Merritt. Cancer, acne, rosacea, MS, and rheumatoid arthritis are 4 different diseases in 4 different areas of medicine. What if they can all be treated with parasite medication? That turns out for those 4 diseases to be true. So you can prevent serious diseases, you can stay healthy, do a parasite cleanse, and do it through the people who produced Died Suddenly, the documentary about the vaccine. So the website is purgestore.com. The links are in the description below. Make sure to check it out. It helps the show tremendously. All right, so let's go to this here. Let's talk about this. Now, this is kind of graphic, okay? This description here is kind of very brief, but kind of graphic here. It talks about the child rape assembly line. Rabbi Nuchem Rosenberg, who is 63, a long graying beard, recently sat down with me to explain what he described as a, quote, child rape assembly line among sects of fundamentalist Jews. Now, this is one thing I want to point out here. Like you see Hollywood, you see the media, you see TV, you see commercials, you see all of these news outlets always trying to frame like Catholic priests as this, right? Don't become an altar boy. Don't go to the Catholic Church because this might happen to you. Framing this as something something very frequent that occurs, very common that occurs. But when you break this down per capita, right? Look at Jewish Americans, only like 2% of the population. Orthodox Jews even less. If you were to break like child sex abuse cases reported in the media per 100,000 people that exist in the Orthodox Jewish community versus the Catholic priests, I guarantee you, if someone were to actually do this study, you would see the rates astronomically higher among the Orthodox Jewish community versus the Catholic priest community. And, this is, but, no one has really done this study. And I hope that maybe the study comes out sometime soon. But it says here, he cleared his throat, quote, "I'm going to be graphic," he said. "The mikvah is a ritual Jewish bathhouse." So again, we go back to this mikvah. This article and other news articles are talking about the appeal was to link a ritual bath or a mikvah. Okay, so the mikvah is a ritual Jewish bathhouse used for purification. Devout Jews are required to cleanse themselves in the mikvah on a variety of occasions. Many of the devout also purify themselves before and after the act of sex and before the Sabbath. This is a member of Brooklyn's Satmar Hasidim fundamentalist branch of Orthodox Judaism. On a visit to Jerusalem in 2005, Rabbi Rosenberg entered into a mikvah in one of the holiest neighborhoods in the city, in Jerusalem. "I opened the door that entered into the Schwitz," he told me. "Vapors everywhere. I can barely see. My eyes adjust, and I see an old man my age, a long white beard, a holy-looking man sitting in the vapors. On his lap," now this is graphic but brief, "on his lap, facing away from him, is a boy, maybe 7 years old." And, if you're just listening, you can read the rest and what he was doing with the boy and how it seemed very natural to him. And he was actually, very shocked as to why he was, maybe a little bit off. He was off-put by what was going on there. Now, if you look in the Talmud, and again, I just want to make this very clear. I'm not talking about all Jews. I'm not even talking about most Jews. Okay, but if you look in the Talmud, these are quotes, these are verses from the Talmud, which a lot of Jews hold as more important than the Torah, and Jews admit this themselves. Look at Sanhedrin 54b. A Jew may have sex with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Now, this child was described as looking about 7 years old, and this occurred in the mikvah. You also go back and you look at other articles that were barely covered in the news. This is July 24, 2009. Organ trafficking. A bunch of rabbis were arrested in a massive crime ring that participated in literal human organ trafficking. And, did you hear about that story? But I'm sure you heard about the story about the Catholic priest. I'm sure you saw all the Hollywood movies about all the Catholic priests. You understand? And so, again, I'm not saying that there were illicit activities that occurred in these particular tunnels. I'm not going to come out there and say this on the show. But we're going to piece together these things. What is going on here? Why are they trying to fill the tunnels with cement quickly, as quickly as possible? Why is this not really being covered in the news? It reminds me of what happened in Miami recently. They had a police response of 150 cops. Apparently, there were some kids that were blowing off fireworks in the mall, and you had a police response of 150 cops. Even if they were shooting guns in the mall, even if there was a mass shooting that was occurring in the mall, you wouldn't have seen. If you watch the overhead videos, a lot of people are saying aliens. You watch the overhead videos, there was 150 or more police officers there within the blink of an eye. They didn't take long to get there, and then it just disappeared from the news. You can't really find too much information about this out there. And this reminds me, this is sort of like a similar situation. I mean, you literally had Jews crawling out of the sewers in New York City by the dozens, attempting to evade police arrest. It's who's covering this? Anyway, so let's go to the Finders case. So this is from the Washington Post. This is an archived article from 1987. And they talk about this satanic group, the satanic cult, that used children in rituals. D.C. police who searched a Northeast Washington warehouse linked to the group removed a large plastic bag filled with color slides, photographs, and photographic contact sheets. They included pictures of children, similar to school photos, and some were of naked children. Children engaged in what appeared to be cult rituals. Children involved in bloodletting ceremonies of animals, and one photograph of a child in chains. It reminds me of the Podesta artwork. The Tony Podesta artwork. John Podesta was the chief of staff under the Clinton administration, worked for Hillary Clinton's right-hand man in Washington, D.C. for a long time. His brother, Tony Podesta, had artwork that you can look up Tony Podesta artwork and you'll see. This is go back to Pizzagate. Pizzagate, there's a lot of things that they put out there to poison the well, to get people off the topic very quickly. But the fundamental premise of Pizzagate was real. Now they put in the shooter and they put in the, all these other, this incredible stuff in there to get people to be like, okay, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. But, you look into the guy who owned the pizza shop, for instance, and he was ranked as one of the top 50 most powerful men in Washington, D.C. by, I think, GQ magazine or Fortune magazine. Why was he one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington, D.C.? It's kind of weird, isn't it? And then you look into the Finders group, right? You look into Tony Podesta's artwork. You look into the Finders group. You look into the emails that came out of WikiLeaks and how they're treating Julian Assange right now. But the Finders group, you look into this satanic cult, was covered up by the CIA, right? There were some of the members of the group had connections to the CIA, or apparently, according to the FBI, were CIA agents themselves. There's a Mint Press News article about this. There's just some bizarrely included is a map relating to the McMartin preschool. And it talks about tunnels under Washington, D.C. and tunnels in California. And there's this old video clip. There's the head of the Los Angeles FBI, Ted Gunderson, actually talked about this. I'm going to play this clip for you guys right now. Take a look.
School case in Manhattan Beach, California. The children there claimed there were tunnels under the school. They were taken into the tunnels and through the tunnels up into the trap door of a bathroom in a triplex next door, placed in automobiles, and prostituted in the community. These are 2-, 3-, and 4-year-old children before they entered kindergarten. In addition, the children claimed that they were flown into the mountains where they were involved with adults in robes, black robes, chanting, candles. They talked about the brown babies who were cut up, actually sacrificed.
And remember, like, you look at the document dump of on the FBI's official verified Twitter account back in 2019, just a short period after the alleged suicide of Jeffrey Epstein, with this information about the Finders group. Look into the Franklin scandal after that, and one of the police officers talked about how it was deemed a CIA internal matter, case closed. And then you have this document dump by the FBI. So apparently the story goes that there were some men that were seen with some children at a park. And this park, these children looked, they were bug bitten, they were dirty, they looked like they haven't bathed in a long time, they were hungry. Someone called the cops. They found the van. The van contained all sorts of computers and documents. They traced it back to a warehouse in Washington, D.C. The documents talk about tunnels underneath Washington, D.C. to transport who knows what. In this Tallahassee Democrat article, they talk about how, let me see if we can find it here. The Metro Police searched 2 properties owned by members of the Finders where they found documents, photos, and a large amount of computer equipment and instructions for obtaining children for unspecified purposes. And then it was just done. Then it was just over. It was deemed a CIA internal matter, and it was out of the news. And so it's very interesting stuff when you look into it. There's a lot of documentaries out there on BitChute, on Rumble, Odyssey about the Finders group, mainly on BitChute. We did a whole segment up on a Rumble channel, so make sure to subscribe and watch over there. And then you look at this like weird, and I don't know, this is like kind of related, but I just thinking about these things going through my Twitter timeline here. This is 1933 Chicago World's Fair. This is supposedly the World Jewish Day. Okay, 125,000 Jewish Americans show up for this historical pageant at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. And if you look at this weird ritual, and they try to say like, you can see like there's Moloch there, and then they like literally do a mock sacrifice of a child to the demon god Moloch. You can see this here. These are Getty images. This is from the Getty YouTube account from this day, and a lot of the stuff has been purged from YouTube. But a lot of people are trying to say, it was organized by the Zionist Organization of America, sponsored by the Jewish Agency for Palestine, and it was like this theater thing, and it was all just meant to be an act. It was all just meant to be an act. Kind of weird how it looks exactly like. Kind of weird. And then you look into, and again, I'm not saying all, I'm not even saying most, okay? But you look into like this old Oprah Winfrey interview. She interviewed this woman named Rachel, a Jewish woman whose family engaged in satanic ritual child abuse since the 1700s. I'm not even saying only. Because we know it's not only. We know it's the elites, and it's a mixed bag of people. But I want to play a little bit of this interview here. Take a look at this now.
The devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals and cannibalism. She says her family has been involved in rituals for generations. She is currently in extensive therapy, suffers from multiple personality disorder, meaning she's blocked out many of the terrifying and painful memories of her childhood. Meet Rachel, who is also in disguise to protect her identity. You come from generations of ritualistic abuse?
Yes, my family has an extensive family tree, and they keep track of who's been involved and who hasn't been involved. And it's gone back to like 1700.
And so you were...
Right. I was born into a family that believes in this.
And does everyone else think it's a nice Jewish family? From the outside, you appear to be a nice Jewish girl?
Definitely.
And you all are worshiping the devil inside the home?
Right. There's other Jewish families across the country. It's not just my own family.
Really? And so who knows about it? Lots of people now.
I talked to a police detective in the Chicago area, and
anyway, you can go and watch this full segment for yourself. But it says here that she had to sacrifice an infant in exchange for power. And then, of course, she says express it's not all Jewish people that sacrifice babies, obviously. So, like, this is something that's super important. Now,